Hi, my name is Ariel from the Children of Karma, and today we're going to discuss Jupiter and Saturn ancestral aspects. Jupiter is about our outlook on life, and this conditions our actions and is the motive behind our conscious behavior. And, typically they associate this one with wealth, but you get the wealth indirectly through the outlook and the discipline of Saturn. And this one can be about tests of faith, which, oh gosh, extremely difficult. And I believe I've went through many in my life, especially after all of my injuries and the 9 surgeries and having to rebuild again. I think after, I had the first 7 in a chunk over one summer, and I think I thought, well, I'm not going to make it. And this can be that practical understanding of Saturn, but also blind pessimism. And this can be like a mixture of one day you're pessimistic and one day you're optimistic. And I've felt this consistently throughout my life. I feel like what has helped me through that is writing a journal and writing down the positives and how to build yourself up every day and rereading about all of your progress. Sometimes you can forget that you've made so much progress. And after the first 7 surgeries, I was released from the hospital, and then the work began. It's actually easier when you're just in the hospital bed or in the bed. Once you do start to get up and move around, that's when, the real challenge begins. And I think I knew that as it was coming, and I had so many other complications that I really couldn't manage. And I had an environment around me that was very controlling, Saturn, and it didn't match my philosophy. Every day, waking up and continuing to move forward and doing my exercises and following the physical therapy, the plan, the diet, the sleep patterns, the catheter timing schedule, and continuing to survive, it builds this resilience within you. And I think I had allowed myself to listen to my body. Sometimes this loss of faith can be caused by this lack of connection that we have with the self. It's like an intuitive connection with the self, and that is missing. And we only have the practical, logical understanding and the environment and the control and the pessimism. And it's that contact with the self that allows you to really listen to your intuition and also factor in your practical understanding of the society, the environment, and the rules of the society. And for me, recovering after those surgeries, it was a mixture of blind optimism and discipline, honoring both Jupiter and Saturn in this aspect, and continuing every day being optimistic, knowing that, well, it's another day and possibly I can heal. Possibly this is not forever. I was told my bladder would never function again. And, for some reason, I just never believed them. I just could never. This placement is very good with visualization. And they have great creative imagination. And I just couldn't see it. I couldn't visualize it. I just could not. No, it's going to come back. And continuing every day. And that's what I did with my bladder, just with no guidance whatsoever, just continuing to do it for a 10-month period until the catheters were removed completely. That was blind faith. That was faith. This aspect is about genuine faith. And Liz Green says it best. She says that it's about an intuitive, non-rational knowing that the universe is working according to particular patterns, and these patterns have this intrinsic wisdom and knowledge and purpose. Finding that was very difficult, but I think getting in touch with the self, getting in touch with the body more because of my injuries, because I had to create the mind-body connection, which can be alluding to Jupiter, Saturn as well, because Jupiter is very mental and Saturn's very practical. And listening to that body, listening to what it's telling me to do, and really it became a blind faith in my optimism and in my intuition and myself, and every day continuing to do it, just being devoted to it, regardless of how weird it may look. For example, crystals helped me. I had issues with sleeping at first, and that's what really drew me into the crystals. I read something somewhere that said that if you put an amethyst under your pillow, it would help your sleep. I thought, okay, well, it won't interact with my medications, and I need to try something. And I managed to string together 4 hours of sleep that night, and that began my journey into exploring the ways that crystals can help us to heal. And yeah, maybe it's not very logical, but there's a devotion, there's an inner knowing. It's not rational, but for some reason it works. This aspect is interesting as well because neither of my parents had a solid faith. I always searched for something greater to believe in. I was always purchasing books about angels and even Bible verses. And I mean, I went down the Joel Osteen route. I mean, I'm just trying to search for something. And luckily, after the surgeries, I was able to tap into the sensitivity that I have and really connect with what I believe in, like nature, and feeling that connection with nature and feeling that sense of belonging and purpose. And I follow that daily. This placement is also about ruthless philosophies. For example, with me, my ruthless philosophy would be around children and harming children. And it triggers a lot of issues that I went through, even with the surgeries. Seeing kids not having access to food, being starved, it's just disgusting to me. Even after my surgeries, losing so much weight, losing 50 pounds after the surgeries. And when I finally was able to walk to a mirror, I looked at my back and I could see my tailbone. And the glutes normally will come out, but mine went in, and I'll never forget that image. And I just didn't look human. And I see the kids out there in Gaza, and their skin, their bones, they don't look human. And it's just hard for me to even watch. Even after my knee surgery, I was told I possibly had a foot ulcer and that could lead to an amputation. So out of an abundance of caution, he gave me a very heavy antibiotic, and it ended up poisoning my liver. And it turns out I never had a foot ulcer. So there was like a month where I thought, well, my foot's gonna get cut off. And like there are children with missing limbs, some with several limbs missing. I mean, personally, I don't even think this is ruthless, but let's take those people who have caused this and put them in a room with no food, no water, no sleep. Have them watch a video of the suffering that they've caused on a loop until, the nature takes its course. Find out the meaning of life on your own. You're going to hear a lot of opinions about what people think and take them in, but it's your duty to find out the meaning of life for yourself. And this may not be everyone else's purpose or goal to find out, the meanings between good and evil. But this is what's meant for you. You're meant to explore morality and the deeper meanings of life. Thank you guys for joining me. I'd like to see you at thechildrenofkarma.com to explore our ancestral patterns service, where we can unlock all of the patterns that you're carrying on from ancestors and find better ways to manage them so that we can be better guides for the next generation. And thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.